vast numbers and the numbers that these two men are garnering in votes versus the number of votes that Clinton is getting, I don't see where these poll numbers can be accurate, where Trump and Cruz either one of them can't beat her handedly. Even if you cruisers stayed home and didn't vote, got to tell you, Trump's got the edge. Obviously, he's winning. He's got more votes than Hillary. He's got more votes than Cruz. He's not being pushed by the lamestream media, and he's not being pushed by the inside the Beltway GOP, unlike Romney and McCain. And Trump is getting getting people to come out and vote in droves, record numbers almost everywhere. The whole notion that Trump cannot beat Hillary is not accurate. The whole notion that Cruz cannot beat Hillary is not accurate. As a matter of fact, if you look at some of these polls, Sanders does better against Cruz and Trump than Hillary. But who are we told is winning the Democratic primary right now? So again, that's not possible. If you're looking at the results, it's not possible. I know there's a lot of different factors involved, but let's not go off the deep end here. Let's try to be logical and put two and two together. The fact is that you have two front runners now. You have Cruz and you have Trump on the Republican side. Either one of them can beat Clinton and can beat Sanders. Either one of them would be a much better president than either Clinton or Sanders. Either one of them would have a very difficult time with the establishment and the Democrats. Neither one of them would have an easier time than the other. Plain and simple. What you have to understand now is you have a career politician versus a career businessman right now. And if you don't want a politician, then you can't want Cruz. Well, Cruz is an outsider. You know, I've heard that story. And you're saying that, well, Trump's an insider. Well, if you're going to claim that Cruz is an outsider, then you have to claim that Trump is an outsider, because they both are hated by the insiders. They both have gone against the insiders. They both have done things that the insiders don't like. And they're both out there saying things that the insiders absolutely abhor. You cannot claim that one is an insider while the other is an outsider. It just doesn't work. Sorry. All right, well, Trump gave to, why don't you check every businessman's checkbook and see how many give to both sides of the political aisle? It's called doing business. You know, business people often pay for things that they don't really want to pay in order to move ahead and get things done. It's called business. Hell, you can look at the Koch brother checkbook and see that they've sometimes also given to Democrats and liberals. Why? Because it was good business. And there are a lot of people out there that would no way and no how accuse the Kochs of being liberal. But why did they give to some liberal politicians and liberal groups? Because it was good business. Why did Trump give to Hillary sometimes? Because it was good business. That's why. Not making excuses for anybody, but those are the reasons. It's just good business. So I don't want to, personally, if I see or hear any more of this Trump attack stuff or this Cruz attack stuff, look, I'm going to go for the jugular, because you're being foolish. You are being foolish. Why don't you stick with the facts? And the facts would be, hey, what does your candidate have that the other candidate doesn't have? What is your candidate better at that the other candidate isn't? Why don't you stay positive? Because otherwise you're just doing the job of the insiders and the lamestream media. You go negative, that's what they love. Then they don't have to go negative if you go negative. Do you realize that? If you go negative, that saves them from having to do it, and they look like the good guys, and you look like the bad guy. When in reality, they're the ones spreading the negative stuff in the first place, and then they just sit back and watch everybody else repeat it for them. In other words, the inside the Beltway GOPers, the establishment, and the lamestream media are acting as instigators, and you're falling for it. And I just saw it this morning. This is what kind of ticked me off on this rant. I saw it this morning. Well, Trump hasn't been conservative long enough. Who says that kind of nonsense? What do you mean he hasn't been conservative? What is the number of years you have to be conservative before you can be considered a conservative? I don't know. Is it a decade? 20 years, maybe? Well, what about the kids coming, just getting into college and they're conservative? Some of them, are they not really conservative because they haven't been alive long enough to be conservative, I guess, right? But they can sure as hell be liberal. What is the minimum number of, somebody tell me, what is the minimum number of years one has to be conservative to be, if you're liberal for 10 years, do you have to be conservative for 10 years? That means if you're liberal for 20, now you got to be conservative for 20 to be construed as conservative? This is ridiculous. Where are you guys getting this stuff? I tell you where. From the establishment and the lamestream media, and you need to stop it.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
When you're ready to take the edge off a hectic day, I suggest you start with a little music from Franz Black.
I guess there's lots of ways to look at things that don't seem right.
No Worries has just been released on iTunes and Amazon.
It's gonna be alright.
You can find Franz Black and his music on his website, franzblack.com. Franz black.com.
It's gonna be alright.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Attention business owners. We know that owning a business means getting things done right now. So if your right now list includes a new building, call the Right Now Company. General Steel. We can design a building for your business quickly and save you thousands of dollars. That's right, thousands. You may think General Steel only builds large projects or that you can't afford General Steel quality. Well, check these prices. How about a 40 by 60 foot building for under $22,000 or even a 50 by 100 for under $35,000? That's right, a 5,000 square foot building for under $35,000. And these buildings all have General Steel quality. Best of all, you can still order a building and have it delivered in time to build this year. How's that for right now? So if your right now list includes a new building, call the Right Now Company, General Steel.
800-393-5756. 800-393-5756. 800-393-5756. That's 800-393-5756.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-616-8010. That's 1-800-616-8010. Again, 1-800-616-8010. Call now.
(603) 835-3224. Welcome back. It is I, your lovable host, coming to you live once again here on the Rod Eccles Show. That is what you're listening to. If you've just come across and said, who the hell is this guy? Well, I'm Elrod. That's who I am. The primary results from last night, a little bit shocking on the Democratic side and a little bit shocking on the Republican side. You know, last night was what was billed as the night that the GOP could block Trump or Clinton could really seal the deal on Sanders. Neither happened, much to the surprise of many in the establishment and lamestream media, because they just knew it was going to be the other way around. And the problem is that, especially for the GOP, that this moment or this effort to blunt Trump is running into a roadblock in and of itself, because they seem to think that the firewall is Florida and Ohio. And what the polls are showing is, well, it's kind of devastating for those who are not Trump fans. It really is. Last night was pretty devastating. Look, first of all, you guys got to understand something. Donald Trump is the comeback kid of the late 20th century. Donald Trump, for the real estate, is considered to be the Jack Welch of real estate. Who is considered to be the best corporate manager that the planet has ever seen? Well, GE's Jack Welch. I mean, it's been touted on business magazines and non-business magazines, for the last 10 or 15, 20 years maybe. Jack Welch is, people wanted to, he was never known as a wonderful, overly compassionate and caring person. But people people would line up to support him just about in anything. I mean, he was the ultimate motivator, I guess. People loved working for Jack at GE. And by the same token, what you find out was when you talk to people who've been in the Trump organization and have worked for Donald Trump, who've worked indirectly with him or for him, most of them will say the similar things about him as what was said about Jack Welch. Now, you Trump haters, you can go ahead and believe what you want to believe, but the facts are that Trump, by his own employees and former employees, most of them, they love the man to death. And I'm not just talking about his kids. I mean, one of the things that you think that you've heard is you've heard all this disdain and disorder from the first few apprentice winners. You know, not the celebrities, the non-celebrities, the first few that they hated working with. Not a single one of them that has gone to work for Donald Trump has ever come out and said that they hated working for him. That it was one of the best learning experiences and best time that they've had in business ever. They've all said that. And they're not contracted to say it. I mean, this is just... The fact is that the guy is a fantastic manager and business person, much like Jack Welch. He was $10 billion in debt, and today he's practically debt-free. Now, I don't know. I would love a guy who has that kind of experience taking over the reins of a nation who has a debt problem. And if you think you can say that, well, geez, you know, you can't do the same thing with the government, Rod, because you know it's not bankers. You know, you have to deal with Congress and stuff. Well, he had to deal with bankers. He didn't do it all by himself. So in other words, I am sure Donald basically told all the bankers and people that owed him money, if you don't go along with this plan, you're going to lose $10 billion. If you go along with this plan, you're going to get your $10 billion back plus profit. So what he needs to tell Congress is, you know what? We're $20 trillion in debt. If you don't go along with my plan, we're going to be $50 trillion in debt, and we're going to go down the tubes. If you go along with my plan, many of you will get to stay here in Washington and keep doing what you're doing and keep making money and breaking it in. Now, frankly, when you pose it that way, if you tell a congressman, you tell a senator, hey, Senator, you go along with this plan, you start reducing the debt and getting this country out of debt, and you can lower people's taxes, they're going to keep reelecting you. Versus if you don't go along with this, and we keep going deeper and deeper in debt and trying to raise taxes on people, they're going to boost your butt out of office. Which way do you want to go? And frankly, that's gonna be what happens eventually. So I'm just bringing to light the ability of Donald Trump. And if you want to talk about his record as not being exactly completely conservative, well, then you better, if you're going to talk about that, you better talk about his whole record. Because I don't care who the candidate is, it is unfair to talk about one aspect of the record when it doesn't give the whole picture. The whole picture on Trump is nothing more than conservative values. Believe it or not. You know, you can listen to the media, you can listen to the insiders, you can listen to them give an interview and say, yeah, I believe that maybe, you know, there are certain parts of Obamacare that's great. All that is great. But when you look at what he's actually been doing, most of that stuff has nothing to do with liberalism. I'm just telling you, his actions that he has used in his life has nothing to do with liberalism. Just telling you. You can look it up. You can go and look at, you know, I love all these people, and the figure changes from person to person, the figure changes. Oh yeah, man, it's easy to take $25 million and make it into $10 billion. Really? Well, other people haven't done it, but he didn't get $25 million. I've heard the term that Donald Trump started out his career in New York City in the early 70s with anywhere from 1 million to 100 million, literally. The truth is, Donald Trump borrowed between $1 and $2 million from his daddy. Borrowed. That was it. Fred Trump wanted nothing to do with Manhattan. Just setting the record straight. If you read his books, if you watch all of the infomercials and documentaries and biographies about Donald Trump, they'll all tell you the same thing. So I don't know where people get all these wild accusations and wild numbers from. Oh, yes, I do know where they're getting them from the lamestream media, and they're getting them from people that they want to believe. I find it very interesting that people will believe PBS when PBS, sort of pounds on a liberal, but when PBS pounds on a conservative, no, they can't be right. Can't be right. Why not? If their facts are backed up someplace else, why can't you believe it? Oh, it's kind of like, one of the things that happened last night that shocked people is Trump won Hawaii by a good 10 points. Now, Hawaii was one of our most liberal states. And Trump he didn't even go out there. For the record, I know there aren't many delegates in Hawaii. But hey, I campaigned in Hawaii. And come on, it's treat it as a vacation. It's Hawaii, for crying out loud. People have asked me, well, would you want to live there, Rod? You know what? I've never been to Hawaii, so I couldn't tell you that I would want to live there. But frankly, look, an outsider looking into Hawaii, it would be great to visit and vacation, but I don't think it interests me because it doesn't have what I look for in life. It doesn't have it. And not to mention, it's stuck all the way out there in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. I wouldn't like being on such a small piece of land. I like to roam. I like the ability to roam without having to go over miles and miles and miles and miles of water. No, I love the water, don't get me wrong, but I also love land. And to me, if you're going to be an islander, you got to love water. Because you're not far from it. Well, if you love the ocean, I guess living on an island is perfect for you, but that's... I'm a lover of land and a lover of sea, but, I like to be able to roam free, and you can't roam free in the ocean. You can float, I suppose, but you can't roam. I like to be able to get in my car and drive. In Hawaii, 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours, you've basically encircled gone all the way around the big island. No thanks. But I vacation there, why not? But he didn't. I don't think he's gone out there. I don't think anybody's gone out there to campaign. Correct me on this. I didn't look it up. So I don't know. I'll admit when I don't know something. But I don't think any campaign has gone out to Hawaii any candidate has gone out to Hawaii to campaign. This time around, I don't. Do they ever? I mean, it's a long flight from the West Coast to Hawaii. That's a lot of time in the air that you're not doing anything. See, when you're on the mainland, you may go from East Coast to West Coast, but you can make stops all the way in between. There's nothing in between Hawaii and the West Coast. So what is it? Is it 6 or 8? It's an 8-hour flight, 6-hour flight from LAX to Hawaii. It's just as long to go from the coast, west coast to Hawaii as it is to go from the east coast to the west coast if you're going nonstop. But at least if you're going from east coast to west coast, there's places for you to stop. So I don't think anybody's has gone out to Hawaii personally to campaign. But in any case, Trump won it. Trump won Hawaii by a good 10 points over Cruz. And see, this is the point that I try to make with some people that say that Trump can't win. Really? Well, you see, you considering Cruz, and Cruz is a more hardline conservative, and I like that about him. He really is. But in this day and age in this country, that's more divisive than somebody who's a little bit more moderate. And you cruisers have to accept it. I'm not saying that he can't win them over, but I'm saying right now, you cruisers are going to have to accept the fact that Cruz has a tough time getting the crossover vote. Trump does not. That's going to be big when it comes to November. There is no way in hell that you can show me and tell me the statistics do not bear you out that Cruz can get from across the aisle, because so far he has shown that he cannot. Now, it doesn't mean that he can, especially if Trump is out of the race. I get that part. But I'm telling you, the stats are right now that Trump has troubles with moderates and liberals. In other words, Cruz has trouble with moderates and liberals. Cruz has trouble garnering the so-called Reagan Democrats. Trump does not have that problem. So for you cruisers out there to say that Trump can't beat Hillary, the reality is, looking at everything in the stats today, not in November, but today, the truth would be that Cruz is the one that would have trouble beating Hillary. And the reason is because Cruz is, by far, more conservative than Trump. Absolutely. Not going to argue with you on that. You're absolutely correct. But at the same time, when you're looking at about half the country that is anti-conservative, well, Cruz has got a problem. That's all I'm saying. This country has been tossed to the liberal wolves for so long that about half the country, now we're about evenly split, actually. And when it comes to the voting public, where it's, already you got 45% who are going to vote Democrat simply because they're on the take. They're getting handouts and they love them. And they believe, whether true or false, they believe that conservatives want to cut them off. So they're going to stick with Democrats for the handouts. That's a 45%, vote ratio right off the gate. And considering that we have so many people, a good percentage of the American public that's always wishy-washy, can't make up their damn minds. Well, that means there's only about 2 or 3. Do you realize it only takes 2 or 3 winning 2 or 3% of the vote in order to win the presidential election? You don't even need to get 50 or 51% anymore. You get 48 or 49%, and you can win. And why is it only 48 or 49%? Because you've got 2 different classes of people out there that prevent people from going over to 50 or 51%. Those who throw their vote away for some independent candidate. That's a lot. And those who decide to stay home and not vote. That's also a lot. Trump has already proven that he can get people to come out and vote. Trump has already proven that he can get people who claim that they are Democrats to drop the Democrat ticket and go over to Independent or Republican and vote for him. Unfortunately, Cruz has not proven that yet. Not saying that he can't, But I'm telling you, looking at the statistical numbers and how this country is laid out, Cruz is going to have a more difficult time of doing that. Doesn't mean that he can't. Just telling you that if you're going to use that mantra that Trump cannot win, then you better look at the numbers and either shut up or expect that your guy can't win either. I know cruisers are not going to like that. They're not going to like hearing that. They're going to think I'm in the tank for Trump. That's not the case. I'm looking at the facts. I'm looking at historical data. I'm just looking at the truth. And the truth is, if all things are equal, and they are, then the truth is that if you're going to use that argument on Trump, you better use it on your guy. But you better use it on your guy in a bigger way. So Trump has won Hawaii. And he garners 10 of the 19 delegates, where Cruz gets 6, and 6 of them. And Rubio and Kasich fall by the wayside. In Idaho, Cruz does what Cruz does in an evangelical leaning state. He wins big time. 45% to Trump's 28%. Showing that, Trump still has, as long as Cruz is in the race, Trump's got a little bit of an issue with so-called true white evangelicals. By the way, all of you people who think that Trump is a racist, he's not getting the white vote. Well, I'm sorry, he's not getting the white evangelical vote in evangelical country. He's having trouble with them. Yeah, he's having trouble with a demographic. He's having trouble with them. I know Black Lives Matter would jump on this and say, see, it's all about that white privilege, Rod. It's all about that white privilege. But wait a minute. I thought Trump was Hitler. You would think that those who have white supremacy issues would be going for the guy who's the candidate with white supremacy issues, which would be Trump, right? I love all this stuff. People just throw this stuff out there and they don't even stop and think before they say it. Which allows people like me who think logically, who like to take a look at things and say, okay, what's the truth in this? And it gives us fodder to fire at and take apart. Just pick it apart. Okay, Trump is very Hitler-like. Okay, so Trump isn't garnering all those people who are thought to be Hitler-like. Christian evangelicals. Oh man, they're white supremacists, man. They're white privileged people. But the white supremacists and white privileged people aren't voting for the white supremacist candidate that's like Hitler, who's Donald Trump. They're voting for Ted Cruz. But nobody's saying that Ted Cruz is like Hitler. I mean, come on. Are you people really stopping to think about this stuff before you repeat it? Think about it. So out there in Idaho, yeah, and by the way, all that stuff is just a bunch of BS. Trump in no way is like Hitler. All because Trump says that he wants to build a border wall and to enforce existing immigration laws, much like every other country, including Mexico, is already doing. So I don't know, is Mexico's government like the Hitler Nazi regime because they enforce their borders? Really? So you got I don't hear, why is Mexico? Why does Mexico get to determine what our border issues are? Or border laws are like? I don't hear any other country talking about how bad it is for us to want to close our borders. Why is it Mexico? I don't hear Canada talking about the United States as being Hitler-like or Nazi-like for wanting to close the borders. It's not the easiest thing in the world to get into Canada, by the way. Legally, that is. And it's not, hey, if you're going to traverse the oceans and get to Canada by their northern borders, they probably think you deserve to stay. Michigan, by the way, goes to Trump by a surprising margin. Nearly 37% to Cruz's 25%, and Kasich's 24%. And Kasich spent a lot of time on the ground in Michigan, like he did here in New Hampshire. But New Hampshire, he had a relatively strong second-place finish. In Michigan, he's got a third-place finish. In Rubio, I don't want to use the term little Marco, but, the GOP candidate that they seem to want to come out with from the GOP, he's not doing very well. So you got to ask, what the hell is going on with the Marco campaign? Is Trump right? Is it time for Marco? Marco is not going to drop out before Florida. Why? Because Marco is hoping for a brokered convention, just like Kasich. The establishment want those two to stay in to block Trump. They think that they think that's what their job is. Not to promote it. Do you realize this? That the establishment is not openly promoting any candidate. Now that Jeb's out of it, they're not promoting any candidate. They're out there trying to figure out how to stop a candidate. Not how to promote a candidate, but how to stop a candidate. That's a huge problem, folks. The vast majority of the Republican public wants Trump or Cruz. And you've got the establishment there who's trying to figure out how to stop Trump and then how to stop Cruz. In other words, do what the Democrats are doing and try to figure out a way to steal your vote from you. And you want to complain about and argue about that Trump isn't it or Cruz isn't it. Trump and Cruz aren't the enemy. The enemy is the liberal left and the GOP insiders. And it's about time that you Trumpsters and Cruzers figure that one out, or neither one of your candidates are going to win.
Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Sign him up for the Box of Bait Club and he'll never be hungry again. The Box of Bait Club is a brand new dream come true for every fisherman. Something new and different in your tackle box every month. Every month, another excuse to get outside and do what you love. Don't let this one get away. The Box of Bait Club is currently accepting a limited number of pre-orders with subscriptions starting at $39.95 per month. Find out more now. Log on to boxofbaitclub.com.
I'm just so happy my father had a chance to see his kids before he passed. I just want to say thank you.
When her father fell ill, the American Red Cross was able to help get Veronica's brother home from the Navy to speak to his father one last time. It's thanks to your donations that we can connect military families when they need it most. Please donate today at redcross.org.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-616-8010. That's 1-800-616-8010. Again, 1-800-616-8010. Call now.
Attention business owners. We know that owning a business means getting things done right now. So if your right now list includes a new building, call the Right Now Company. General Steel. We can design a building for your business quickly and save you thousands of dollars. That's right, thousands. You may think General Steel only builds large projects or that you can't afford General Steel quality. Well, check these prices. How about a 40 by 60 foot building for under $22,000 or even a 50 by 100 for under $35,000? That's right, a 5,000 square foot building for under $35,000. And these buildings all have General Steel quality. Best of all, you can still order a building and have it delivered in time to build this year. How's that for right now? So if your right now list includes a new building, call the Right Now Company, General Steel.
800-393-5756. 800-393-5756. 800-393-5756. That's 800-393-5756.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
Boy, man, I had a rough night's sleep. Boy, I got a letter from the IRS yesterday, and I just couldn't sleep. Man, I'm dying here. Somebody help me.
IRS problems affect more than just your finances. If you're ready to take back control of your life and you owe more than $10,000, you need to call the Tax Doctor. Their expert staff can immediately protect you from the IRS and state collectors and get you the best possible tax settlement guaranteed. The IRS has recently released new programs geared in helping struggling taxpayers, where you may qualify to settle your tax debt and wipe out up to 85% or more of what you currently owe. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, call the Tax Doctor right now. See if you qualify to pay less. 800-989-1694. 800-989-1694. 800-989-1694. Again, 800-989-1694.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. We leave no warrior behind. Wounded Warrior Project is a non-profit organization created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war. Whether those scars are physical or mental, we're here to make sure that they heal. And whether it's helping those with post-traumatic stress disorder live a normal life again, or giving much-needed support to injured warriors in veterans' hospitals. Because no one deserves our help more than the men and women who risk their lives to keep us safe. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
Welcome back. It is I, your lovable host, L. Rod, coming to you live from my bunkerized home studio somewhere within the great granite state of New Hampshire on this Wednesday, hump day morning, which happens to be March the 9th in the year of our Lord 2016. By the way, I'm coming from the state that still has the motto of live free or die. It is not big government or bust. The phone number, the toll-free number, should you wish to call in, is 603-835-3224. Again, that's 603-835-3224 as we roll along. See what I did there? I didn't say March this time. Continuing from what I was talking about last segment, Michigan goes to Trump. But looking at the, Mississippi also goes to Trump. And, Mississippi is, let's face it, Mississippi is a more, shall we say, diverse state. And you would think that Mississippians would be, kind of like Louisiana, a little bit more on the freedom side. But they give Trump almost 50% of their support. Now, again, they're giving Cruz almost 40%, which means that doesn't leave much left for the likes of Kasich and Rubio. And again, Rubio is showing up in little numbers. Look, Rubio's not going to get out until at least Florida. If he loses Florida badly, he may not have any choice. It's going to be kind of like the Jeb Bush thing, where they're just saying, "Good God, we're tired of backing you, dude. You're not winning anything." This is same with Kasich. But if you jump over to the Democratic side, what you're going to start hearing is some severe rumblings from Sanders supporters. I mean, Sanders takes Michigan, but Clinton ends up with more delegates. But folks, I kid you not. So in other words, Sanders wins, but Clinton improves her delegate lead over Sanders. Here's how it worked. Sanders got nearly almost 50% of the Michigan vote. Clinton only got 48%. Sanders gets 65 delegates. Clinton gets 68. So in other words, only a total of 133 of 147 delegates have been pledged. And somehow Clinton gets more of them. It's kind of like the New Hampshire thing all over again. Now, I got to tell you, I have not really tried to delve into and try to understand the Democratic delegation process. But I got to tell you, it shouldn't be that complicated to try to figure it out. To me, the winner gets the most. If you and pretty much if you just dole it out by a percentage formula, then it doesn't matter. If it's not a winner-take-all state, if it's a percentage, then you should be getting it based on the number of votes and the percentage that you have. So if there's a percentage, how is it possible that if you lose the contest, you end up with bigger rewards than the person who wins it? And don't tell me, well, it goes county by county. No, BS. I mean, this is done strictly to benefit whomever the Democratic Party, the DNC, wants to benefit first. And just this whole notion that, look, it should be straight up. I know they're probably saying, well, we do it county by county. So if you win this big county, you're going to get those delegates. And if you win this county, you're going to get those. So Sanders could win a lot of the smaller counties, but he's still ending up with more votes. So the point is when it comes to the presidential election, do they care about counties? No, it's the state. as a whole. I mean, depending on the state, you can have one county that is massive and outnumbers the entire rest of the state, and if that person wins the county, they win the state in the general election. They don't care about counties. But here you have in Michigan, Bernie Sanders is the clear winner, and he gets less delegates than Hillary. Okay, in Mississippi, Clinton just shellacks Sanders, 83 to 17%. It wasn't, and you know what? As I have said before, Sanders would have, and this is true going into the general election, which is why I cannot understand how polls have Sanders doing better than. Well, I mean, I do understand the reason why. But in a lot of these polls, they show Sanders doing better against Trump and Cruz than Hillary Clinton. Now, here's let me digress a little bit and tell you why. Because the lamestream media is in the tank for Hillary Clinton. And they don't want Sanders to be the guy. Sanders has a massive problem in the South. Even Southern Democrats and Southern Dixiecrats do not go for that full-on, full-fledged, near-communism socialist crap that Bernie Sanders is spewing. And every time you see a real, true Southern state go to the polls so far, they smack Bernie upside the head and say, get out of here, boy. He didn't do well in South Carolina. He didn't do well here in Mississippi. He's not going to do well in Florida. The South is just not, they're not for it. For whatever reason, the South just doesn't buy that kind of stuff. You know, they're not buying what Bernie's selling. So that in and of itself, if Sanders were the nominee for the Democratic Party, he would have a hard time going through the Southern Bible Belt and winning those states. Just saying. And the lamestream media knows that, but they're saying, well, hey, Sanders has a better chance of beating you guys than Clinton does. So maybe you better want Clinton instead. Maybe people should do everything they can to make sure that Clinton is the winner. Because she, you know, you guys are going to have a harder time against Sanders and Clinton, so you're going to want Clinton. Trust me, there's a stupid thing behind the veil. You know, don't pay no attention to that man behind the curtain type of thing going on there. Manipulation. And the New York Times is writing and posting about this as well, about the Michigan debacle. I'm calling it a debacle. Bernie Sanders wins Michigan primary. New York Times. And you know, New York Times is not exactly New York Times doesn't exactly love the Donald, and New York Times is not exactly a conservative ragmag. And Ted Cruz, he won the Idaho Republican primary. And they're saying he's somewhat mitigating his finishes in Michigan and Mississippi, but no way could he mitigate his second place finishes in Michigan and Mississippi, considering Michigan and Mississippi, both of those states, have a bigger, much far larger population than Idaho. So I don't know how that's again. You're talking, New York Times, liberal brag mag there. Yeah, mitigates somewhat, a little bit, kinda, sorta, not. There's no mitigating. But Trump is now they're pointing it out. Trump lost to Cruz in Kansas and Maine. Oh, Kansas and Maine. And then he lost Idaho. I don't look. I know it keeps it Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. I get that. But understand, you cruisers, who's giving you hope? Evidently, it's not Ted himself. Evidently, it's liberal ragmags like the New York Times. By downplaying, do you realize that they are downplaying Sanders' big wins, just like they're up trying to upplay Cruz wins? Just saying. Just so you can see the comparison here. So Sanders goes on to beat Trump. Is surprisingly, they're calling it an upset. Do you realize that they're calling his win in Michigan an upset, which means that all the polls and all the protagonists and all the pundits, they all expected Hillary to win Michigan. And she didn't. And I'm waiting to see all I'm because they haven't come out with the demographics on the vote yet. I am suspect on it. And the reason is because Michigan has the Lower Peninsula has a large minority. When we say minority, it means black. Anybody else think that calling blacks, referring to blacks as the minority is a little bit racist? I mean, that leaves out Asians, that leaves out, Hispanics. It doesn't seem fair. Well, I guess that's only because Black Lives Matter. If I know I'm digressing here, but I just got to ask this question. Why, we hear this term, Black Lives Matter, and then we hear the term All Lives Matter. But All Lives Matter is racist, but Black Lives Matter is not. Blue Lives Matter means that you hate blacks. Just like All Lives Matter means you hate blacks. But what I haven't heard anybody say is Latino Lives Matter. I haven't heard anybody say Asian Lives Matter. Now, all you Hispanic and Latino, whatever you want to call yourselves, all of my Latino friends out there, y'all need to stand up and say Latino Lives Matter. Now, some of you are saying, why are you saying Latino that way, Rod? Because I like saying it with their accent. Latino. It sounds cool. Latino, man. So you guys should be out there saying Latino Lives Matter. I want to see a minority diss another minority. Now, no, I don't want a race war. You guys you're going to, if that's what you think, you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. I have not seen the hashtag Latino Lives Matter. I've seen the hashtag Blue Lives Matter and All Lives Matter, as well as obviously Black Lives Matter. I have not seen hashtag Asian Lives Matter or Native American Lives Matter or Latino Lives Matter or any other minority. So now I know Asians are the majority on this planet. I get it. But for the speakeasy purposes here in the United States, Asians are considered to be minorities here. So I don't see any of the and by the way, for those of you who think that Donald Trump is racist, has anybody noticed the massive increase in the number of Asians in this country? I mean, hell, by some standards, you go to Canada, and the percentage of Asians up there has jumped like you would not believe. But here in the States, too, Asians are all over the place. And look, I'm not disparaging Asians in any way, shape, or form. The whole point is that we're hearing that Trump wants to stop all of this immigration, and you got Obama who's force feeding us not Arabs but Islamists. And these Islamists happen to be Arabic. I don't see Trump trying to force, or I don't see Obama trying to force feed us any Asian Islamists or Asian Muslims. They're Arabic Muslims. So where's, I don't see anybody out there saying that, Arab lives matter or Muslim lives matter. We wouldn't accept, would anybody accept that? But we've got a tremendous growth and increase in Asians in this country. But here's the deal. Here's the difference. You see, Asians are still coming here and still trying to assimilate. And they come here still wanting to work. Asians do not generally come here and then sit down on their butts and look for a handout. Asians come here. Yeah, sure, they get here. Some of them get here illegally. We've had movies about that, by the way. Some of them come here illegally. They make the long ass trip on ships. Some of them, kind of like the Mayflower, they don't live to see the end of the trip. But they come here, and then they work their butts off. And most of them do try to, in their way, assimilate. Sure, they may settle in Chinatowns here and there all over the country, but for the most part, look, if they're going out into, Podunkville to set up a Chinese restaurant, obviously there's no Chinatown. But these people work their butts off. By the way, there is actually a town called Podunk. It's Podunk, Massachusetts, over in central Mass, outside of Worcester. I kid you not, there is a Podunk. I learned that from earlier, was it last week? I learned that in on channel, was it CV Channel 5, CVB Boston. There is a Podunk, Massachusetts. See, a lot of this stuff there's reality to it, but these myths that we say, there's truth behind the myth. Yes, folks, there is really a place called Podunk, Massachusetts. And there is a road called Podunk Road. But you don't see. So you can get Asians that go to Podunk. There's no Chinatown in Podunk. But they don't come here to sit on their hands and collect government benefits. As a matter of fact, most people that come here and stay here illegally, and this is, you can construe this any way you want to, but I'm just telling you the facts. The people that get here, that get to stay on government assistance, are those people that cross the southern border of this country and those who get overly invited into this nation by our government. So if our government decides that, maybe Zimbabwe is the country of choice this year, any Zimbabwean that gets to come here on the government dime will get to stay on government assistance. That's exactly what's going to happen to Syrians and Arabic Muslims. But that's not the case with certain ethnic people, like Asians, especially those from the Philippines or Taiwan or Korea. And Chinese. We don't get a lot of Japanese here in the U.S. because Japan is, nobody wants to leave Japan. But when Chinese come here, they work their tails off. But you don't hear Americans complaining about Chinese taking over the country. It's kind of interesting. I'm just throwing that out there. I just find it kind of fascinating. But you don't hear any of the, the so-called conservative politicians railing against the Chinese or any Asians or anything like that. But sure, if they go ahead and then they rail against somebody else who actually is abusing our system, well, then now we're racist somehow. Well, I guess it is what it is, folks. You could, I guess I probably shouldn't get off into that tangent anyway. But in any case, you've got you've got Bernie Sanders, who's making some inroads, but every time he seems to win an election, he can't seem to win the delegates, which is really kind of shady. I mean, don't you people think that that's shady? I think it's shady. I think it is really, really, really shady. But nobody else is talking about it. I'm talking about it, but nobody else is talking about it. Now, when it comes to moving along in this whole scenario of the primary, and we've got these two wonderful, fire blockers here, or firewalls, in Rubio and Kasich. Well, you have to ask, can the Republican Party stop him, stop Trump? Can they block him? Their hope is that they can prevent, their hope is simply to keep Trump from getting the number of delegates needed to secure the nomination so it can go to a brokered convention. The problem is where they set up their firewall. The problem is where they set up their line in the sand. Their last or best defense is in the states of Florida and Ohio. The problem is that poll after poll is starting to come out and show that Trump is now starting to dominate both Ohio and Florida. 40 to 24% in Florida alone. 41 to 35% in Ohio. Can the Republicans stop Trump after all? Probably not. You're listening to me, your lovable host, L. Rod, here on the Rod Eccles Show.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
When you're ready to take the edge off a hectic day, I suggest you start with a little music from Franz Black.
I guess there's lots of ways to look at things that don't seem right.
No Worries has just been released on iTunes and Amazon.
It's gonna be alright.
You can find Franz Black and his music on his website, FranzBlack.com. F-R-A-N-Z Black.com.
It's gonna be alright.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Attention business owners. We know that owning a business means getting things done right now. So if your right now list includes a new building, call the Right Now Company, General Steel. We can design a building for your business quickly and save you thousands of dollars. That's right, thousands. You may think General Steel only builds large projects or that you can't afford General Steel quality. Well, check these prices. How about a 40 by 60 foot building for under $22,000? Or even a 50 by 100 for under $35,000? That's right, a 5,000 square foot building for under $35,000. And these buildings all have General Steel quality. Best of all, you can still order a building and have it delivered in time to build this year. How's that for right now? So if your right now list includes a new building, call the Right Now Company, General Steel.
800-393-5756. 800-393-5756. 800-393-5756. That's 800-393-5756.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-616-8010. That's 1-800-616-8010. Again, 1-800-616-8010. Call now.
Bring the rain.
Zero 835-3224 is the number if you wish to join me here live on the Rod Eccles Show, because I am your lovable host, L. Rod. Still coming to you live from New Hampshire. Boom. Trump is dominating Rubio in Florida and Kasich in Ohio. The poll of Ohio Republicans has Trump ahead of Governor Kasich, 41 to 35%. Senator Ted Cruz is 15, and Rubio is a distant fourth with 7% in the state of Ohio. And this is a CNN ORC poll. And Wednesday, today, Trump still holds the lead in Florida with almost double the share of voters than Rubio, 40 to 24%. Cruz then follows in Florida with 19%, and Kasich has just 5%. So the whole notion that Florida and Ohio can be, now, when the actual votes start, are actually counted, maybe we can all be a little surprised or a little shocked by the results. But I don't see a huge shocker or upset here. Look, trust me. Some people are saying, well, Rod, they're setting it up so that if Trump loses Florida or Trump loses Ohio, which is more likely he's going to lose Ohio, they're going to say it's a huge, huge upset and that Trump can be stopped. They're going to say, see, the American people don't all fall for Trump's stuff. That the GOP is right, that we need to stop Trump because Trump can't beat Clinton. And he proved it by losing Ohio. Trust me, folks, if this is how they're setting it up and this is what ends up happening and Trump does not win Ohio, this is exactly what you're going to hear as to why. I'm telling you now, this is what you are going to hear. Now, I do not, for looking at all the different polls that are coming out on a daily basis, it would indeed be an upset according to all the, and again, I'm a person who doesn't believe in polls really, but I'm looking at all these polls, both liberal and moderate and conservative base, and one way or the other, they have, some of them have Trump up, big, and some of them have it pretty much a dead heat with Trump slightly in the lead. I got to tell you that if the way they're setting it up, it is going to be spun just that way if Trump does not win Ohio. This is it. They're going to say that it was a huge upset. Even if Trump just loses by, 1 point, it is going to be a massive upset, which is a mandate to block Trump. That's the way it's going to be spun from the establishment. So you Trumpsters and you Cruzers had better pay attention to this too, because they're going to use the same tactics on Ted Cruz. So this is how they're going to spin it and how they're setting it up, folks. I'm telling you right now. And they're setting it up right now that Cruz in Florida, Cruz can't win in Florida either. And Ted Cruz is what? He's Latino, man. He's Cuban too. And Rubio's got, he's in second place at least. Cruz can't even get that. And nobody likes Cruz in Ohio. I mean, Ohio, it's the middle of the country, basically. And Cruz is way down in Ohio. I'm telling you, this is how they're setting this all up for those two guys. So, what happens? I mean, you've got 99 delegates up for grabs in, 100 delegates, 9,900. What's the difference? In Florida. And 2/3 of the devil is up for grabs in Ohio. And I know some people are saying, what? 2/3 of the devil? What's the devil's number? The devil's number is traditionally said it is 666, that's not exactly it. But, we're not going to do a history and biblical lesson here on what 666 actually stands for. But just know that modern times, the 666 number is the number of the devil. And there are 66 delegates up for grabs in Ohio. Well, that's 2/3 of the devil. If 666 is the devil's number and represents the devil, then 66 is 2/3 of the devil. You get that one? Okay, I hope so. Because it's kind of tiring trying to explain it to people in Rush Limbaugh's Rio Linda. Seriously. I heard Rush yesterday talking about that. In that people were in Rio Linda. There is a place called... there are people out there that do not believe that Rio Linda is in a real place. Well, just like Podunk, there really is a Rio Linda, California. Now, I don't know where it is. It's in some place in Southern California. But it does exist. And I understand that people in Rio Linda are getting upset with Trump, or upset with Rush for calling them stupid. Well, I think Rush was trying to say that that's not what he was meaning, but you know what? I'm gonna say it because they're in Southern California. If you're a Californian and you're a liberal, you're just stupid. I'm sorry, but you are. And quite frankly, if you're living in Southern California and you are a conservative of any kind of party, you're an idiot. How can you possibly live under such an oppressive regime out there in the People's Republic of California? I don't get it. So that's why I repeat. What am I going to? I can't say any place. I just repeat what Rush says on that one. I have been to California, but and I know people who've moved out there. I know people who've moved. I know quite a few people that have moved to California on purpose. I mean, not that their job took them there, but they moved there and looked for a job or looked for a job there purposefully so they could move there. They've moved to San Francisco. They've moved to L.A. I even know a person that moved to Sacramento. They lasted in Sacramento all of a year, by the way, just before they moved back to New York. That's pretty bad. when you find your so-called dream job that takes you to Sacramento, California, and within a year you've had enough of California that you move back to New York. That's pretty bad. Just pointing that one out. But so I've known people that have moved purposefully, to the Bay Area, San Francisco area, San Francisco, Oakland. I've known people who moved to L.A. not to become actors, but they've moved to L.A. I don't know why anybody would want to move to L.A., but okay, so they moved to L.A. The interesting thing is I haven't known anybody to purposefully move to Northern California. To me, it would seem that if you wanted to move to California and you were had any type of political leanings other than ultra liberal, you'd probably be better off in the northern half of Cal. Because Northern California, which is a lot less populous than Southern California, also tends to lean more conservative and Republican. Unfortunately, they're outnumbered up in Northern California by a lot by the liberal southern half of the state. And I truly feel for Northern Californians. I really do. Because they don't want the big government that they got, but they got to pay for it just the same. And that happens. It's kind of like we see this in a few states. In a few of the larger states where there is a large land mass, you find that there's a group of a large geographical area that tends to be more conservative than another geographical area. And what happens is those people often are outnumbered because they're in more sparsely populated areas. But yet and still, they got to pay for everything that those idiotic liberals want without reaping hardly any of the benefits. We found this to be true in the state of New York when it came to Long Island, New York City, Manhattan, all that kind of stuff. The island down in the tri-state area in New York was reaping huge benefits by stealing tax money from the rest of the state. Remember in the early 70s, you had New York City that was on the verge of bankruptcy. Literally. I mean, it was that bad. And it was run by Democrats. And more money from the state was being siphoned off and sent downstate to the New York City area in order to save New York City. Well, at that particular point in time, most of the rest of the state, upstate as they called it then, they still do, was sick and tired of it. And they said, why not just spin off and make them their own state down there? Now, this is the same thing that happened in the 60s and 70s with the state of Michigan. You know, you had Lower Michigan that was being hammered hard by the auto industry, laying off people and leaving the state and going other places and then starting to go overseas. And you had people in the upper peninsula part of the state of Michigan that saw their tax dollars continually being drained off and going down to the lower half of the state. And they were saying enough is enough. Let's make our own state here. And there have been other states that have said that. I think there's this, there was this whole notion in was it Colorado or Nevada, one of the Midwestern Rocky Mountain states like that, where they also had had talks about splitting the state in half or in quarters or something like that. So, yeah, this is Northern Californians wanting to and there was a few weeks ago there was a big post. I can't remember where it was. A big post online. You saw it. I think I posted that on rodeccles.net. They broke up the state into California into 6 smaller states. They listed the boundaries and everything, and the potential new state capitals. Somebody really thought that one out. But this is not new for California. This notion of splitting the state. And pretty much the more popular secession, if you will, really kind of splits the state along political lines to just north of the San Francisco Bay Area, Northern California, pretty much, splitting off from the rest of the state. And frankly, I don't blame them. Now, it's not going to happen. For those of you in California, at least not anytime soon. You just don't have the population numbers up there to do that. And you don't have any support down south. Now, what you have to do is you have to get the support from the south, but, from Southern Cal. But SoCal people, they realize the benefit they're getting from stealing from you northern people. So you think they're going to give up that cash cow? I'm just saying. I just look. If you look at anybody who's getting a handout, do you think they're willingly going to give up that handout? No, they want you to keep paying because they're benefiting from it, and that's who would have thunk that in the United States of America that that people would vote based on how much they're siphoning off somebody else. I don't get it. Speaking of siphoning off somebody else, we got a problem on our southern border. I know you already know about the problem on the southern border. You know about it. Everybody knows about it. The only people that don't seem to think it's a problem are a bunch of liberals. And the liberals they're so oxymoronic and hypocritical. It's ridiculous when it comes to this kind of stuff. Yeah. By the way, did you know that Hitler's personal copy of his book Mein Kampf is sold at auction for $15,000? And no, Donald J. Trump did not buy it. Trump did not buy Mein Kampf. Anyway. Yeah. There are a lot of people out there that are saying Trump is like Hitler, so you'd think he'd want. Can I ask a question about this? How many people out there have read Donald Trump's basically his autobiography in The Art of the Deal? Can anybody tell me that is the same thing as Hitler's Mein Kampf? Is that anywhere near Hitler's Mein Kampf? Anyway. This is from the WashingtonExaminer.com. Record number of unaccompanied minors. Love how they say that. Unaccompanied minors is set to flood the southern border. Actually, what it should, I always like to put things in simple terms and be as truthful as possible. Unaccompanied minors? No. Record number of illegal immigrant children. That should be the title. Record number of illegal immigrant children set to flood the southern border. Homeland Security officials are on track to apprehend a record number of illegal immigrant children trying to enter the U.S. from Mexico. This has been suggested by the Senate Homeland Security Chairman. And this is... There's another headline that came across that I did not look into, but the headline says, record 61 million immigrants in the U.S. Nearly 16 million are illegal. Americans are being, natural-born Americans are being outnumbered pretty damn quick by immigrants. Now, that in and of itself of a nation that is built on immigration is not the problem. The problem is the surprising number of immigrants that are refusing to assimilate into American culture. That's a problem. Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson told the committee that officials have apprehended nearly 24,000 illegal children trying to cross the border. And he says, I think we're possibly beyond crisis proportions here. Oh, you think? And this was said by Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin. 4 months in, and we're up to 24,000 already. 2014 was a crisis. Right now, I think we're running ahead of 2014 levels, Senator Johnson said. If we maintain this pace, we'll have 77,000 illegal children in 2016. The record was set in 2014 when Customs and Border Protection reported a total of 68,500 were apprehended at the border. But we know for a fact that there were more than 68,000 because a lot of them got across successfully. And now these kids that have been allowed to stay because of the Obama administration, they're now writing home and contacting people back home, telling them how to get here, which way to go, and once they get here, if they get caught, what they need to do. They're being coached to come here. Do you people realize this? And I know there are people out there saying, but Rod, they're children. No, that's not the point. The point is that these kids are being put on the pathway by their parents because their parents understand that if their kids can get there first, they can follow. That's what it's all about. This is not about helping the children. It's the children. It's not about the children. The children are the pawns. And frankly, I think that you would be more disgusted and upset with any parent who forces their kid to go through such a trek and such a potential ordeal just so they could come here easier. You understand what I'm saying? In other words, they're using their kid as an anchor. They're tossing that kid over the Rio Grande and say, little Juan or Juanita, go. And if they get caught, they've been coached on how to act, how to behave, what to say, so they get to stay. And then when they get to stay, and the vast majority of them do get to stay, then they write home or call home and say, look, I made it. This is what I did. This is what worked. This is what didn't work. This is what you can do, where you can go, what you got to do in order for you to get here. And then all of a sudden, now you're looking at mommy and daddy and little brother and sister are joining little Juan or Juanita. And no, I'm not being racist when I say that. That is what's happening. And it's happening by design on both sides of the border, by the way. Because, see, this wouldn't work if we didn't have people on our side of the border who are actively pursuing a way for these kids to successfully stay in this country once they got to the border. Let me tell you something. You want to protect the kids, you stop that crap at the border. You send them all home and say, nope, that's not going to work. You got to be a company. Go back to your parents. Go back to your grandparents. Go back to your family. Go back to your home village. You cannot cross over without an adult. If you stopped it at the border, you would stop those kids from being put in danger like that. I'm telling you people that have a soft spot, I'm telling you that if you want to protect those kids, what you have to do is you have to put a stop to this. Because we had 68,000 in 2014. We had another 60,000 in 2015. And now it looks like that another 77,000 or more is going to go through such a hellish ordeal in 2016. How can you say and call yourself compassionate if you're willing to... Look, an American parent can't even smack their kid on the bottom when the kid is acting out of line. That's child abuse. A parent can't even tell a kid, I'm going to punish you one day. I'm going to make you skip dinner for one day without having somebody from DHS or whatever you call your services in your state knocking on your door. One is seeing where the kid sleeps, where the kid eats, where the kid, studies and all that kind of crap. But it's perfectly all right for a Latino parent to force their kid to trek hundreds, even thousands of miles without them just so they can get to the United States. That's not child abuse. Because as soon as the kid gets resettled somewhere with a host family or what have you, and the kid calls for the parents to come in, and the parents get to the border and say, yeah, my little Juan or my little Juanita, they are living in Colorado with this, and they go through all the process, and they figure out, well, they are the parents, so yeah, bring the parents in. The parents aren't arrested, but you get an American parent who smacks their kid on the bottom for getting out of line, and the parents are going to jail. So tell me again how that is compassionate. To allow these young, really young sometimes, you're talking 6, 7 years old in some cases, trying to walk across the border. And we're not talking about border crossings either. We're talking in the middle of nowhere in the desert half the time. Even a lot of adults don't make that trek. But that's not child abuse.
Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Sign him up for the Box of Bait Club and he'll never be hungry again. The Box of Bait Club is a brand new dream come true for every fisherman. Something new and different in your tackle box every month. Every month, another excuse to get outside and do what you love. Don't let this one get away. The Box of Bait Club is currently accepting a limited number of pre-orders with subscriptions starting at $39.95 per month. Find out more now. Log on to boxofbaitclub.com.
I'm just so happy my father had a chance to see his kids before he passed. I just want to say thank you.
When her father fell ill, the American Red Cross was able to help get Veronica's brother home from the Navy to speak to his father one last time. It's thanks to your donations that we can connect military families when they need it most. Please donate today at redcross.org.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-616-8010. That's 1-800-616-8010. Again, 1-800-616-8010. Call now.
Attention business owners. We know that owning a business means getting things done right now. So if your right now list includes a new building, call the Right Now Company. General Steel. We can design a building for your business quickly and save you thousands of dollars. That's right, thousands. You may think General Steel only builds large projects or that you can't afford General Steel quality. Well, check these prices. How about a 40 by 60 foot building for under $22,000 or even a 50 by 100 for under $35,000? That's right, a 5,000 square foot building for under $35,000. And these buildings all have General Steel quality. Best of all, you can still order a building and have it delivered in time to build this year. How's that for right now? So if your right now list includes a new building, call the Right Now Company, General Steel.
800-393-5756. 800-393-5756. 800-393-5756. That's 800-393-5756.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
Boy, man, I had a rough night's sleep. Boy, I got a letter from the IRS yesterday and I just couldn't sleep. Man, I'm dying here. Somebody help me.
IRS problems affect more than just your finances. If you're ready to take back control of your life and you owe more than $10,000, you need to call the tax doctor. Their expert staff can immediately protect you from the IRS and state collectors and get you the best possible tax settlement guaranteed. The IRS has recently released new programs geared in helping struggling taxpayers, where you may qualify to settle your tax debt and wipe out up to 85% or more of what you currently owe. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, call the tax doctor right now. See if you qualify to pay less. 800-989-1694. 800-989-1694. 800-989-1694. Again, 800-989-1694.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. We leave no warrior behind. Wounded Warrior Project is a non-profit organization created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war. Whether those scars are physical or mental, we're here to make sure that they heal. And whether it's helping those with post-traumatic stress disorder live a normal life again, or giving much-needed support to injured warriors in veterans' hospitals. Because no one deserves our help more than the men and women who risk their lives to keep us safe. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
You want to know what time it is? It's time to bring the rain.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
Welcome back to hour number 3, the fastest 3 hours on Internet Talk Radio, right here on the Rod Eccles Show. I am, of course, your lovable host, L-Rod, coming to you live from my bunkerized home studio somewhere within the great Granite State of New Hampshire. The call-in number is 603-835-3224. Hey, by the way, did you know that Canada is making a move? Yeah, Canada's making a move. In Hollywood-wise, that is. The National Film Board of Canada, which is the country's public filmmaker, is making a move that should make all of you people that were into yesterday's International Women's Day happy. Yeah. They're trying to bring parity and equality to filming in Canada. They promised that half of the movies that the National Film Board of Canada finances in whole or in part will be directed by women, regardless if the woman is the best, candidate for that particular film or not. Half the quota for women, basically. I'm against quotas, any kind of quota. Quotas are when I was young, they started to have all that stuff, put in applications and stuff, your ethnicity. When I was 18 or 19 years old, I used to fill that stuff out. But I remember when I became a real adult at around the age of 21, I remember I stopped doing that. Because I didn't want to be hired because they wanted to fill some stupid quota. My parents had instilled too much self-pride in me for that. And I do recall catching on a second interview my resume, seeing it on the desk of the interviewer. And I do recall seeing a big letter, capital letter B at the top of my resume. Now, as some of you may know, my story is a lot of times people will talk to me on the phone, or they hear my voice and not see my face. And then when they finally see me for the first time, some people are actually shocked that I'm not white. I guess because I don't have an urban accent, and I ask instead of ask people questions. And so on this particular resume, there was a big B on top. And I remember getting through about 5 minutes of the interview, 5 or 10 minutes of the interview, and I said, I have a question for you. Now, I noticed something. Do you classify people? Because, I notice I have a B on my resume. Does that mean that I'm in the B category? I'm less than perfect? You're less than ideal? You wouldn't believe how uncomfortable this guy got and started squirming in his chair. And I knew what the B meant then and there. And I said, well, at the end of the interview, I said, thank you for your time. I was offered the position, and I turned it down. Because I don't want it I don't want any hint of it being based on the color of my skin. Never have, never will. And therefore, I don't think that for most positions, any real woman out there would want to gain a position based on her gender. Because you know what they're telling you? Hey, ladies, they're telling you that, even other ladies, they're telling you that you're not good enough to get this on your own. That you've got to have some sort of special privilege or benefit in order to make it. Now, to me, that's a tremendous insult. Why would you do that? I don't know. Why would you want to accept that? I don't know. 850, let's to the phones we go here. 850, you're live on the Rod Eccles Show. What you got?
Our psychiatrist trained in Germany, underwent, and came to America, and so on and so forth. And right at the time that we started to have Eastern immigrant, Eastern Europe immigration, and they've been studying the psychology of all this for quite a while. And you always see when a new group comes in, they kind of have a tendency to congregate together. And they have a high work ethic, like the Chinese, the Indians, and everybody. They come here and they do well. Well, when we import these kids like this, and a lot of them come unaccompanied and everything, the government's going to be their daddy. And, just like the underworld or the political world meeting the immigrants at the dock and providing them housing to make them eternally grateful, it's going to be the government. They've dumbed down all the people in America so far as they're not upset by this. But those people that are coming, they're not going to have the work ethic that the immigrant would have. They're going to have completely and totally American values as taught to them by the elites that have imported them.
Well, this is... Well, they are going to be educated in government schools, obviously, the children. These illegal immigrant children, I don't know what they're calling them now, refugees, but they're illegal children. And they're going to be educated at American taxpayer expense in public schools. And they're going to be indoctrinated that the government is wonderful, the government is a savior. At the same time, they're going to be taught, that they're special, more special than American kids. In fact, we already see in schools in California and across the Southwest that American kids can't wear T-shirts with the American flag, but Mexican kids that are there can wear T-shirts with the Mexican flag. So they're being taught that they're extra special and that they should get special privileges. I agree, and they're not being taught a work ethic.
It's a total psych job. It's the psych, the red diaper doper babies. It's their dream, and personally, I find abortion offensive, and I believe it goes against what God teaches us. He gave the life; it's not ours to take. And here they are aborting close to 60 million babies in America since 1973. It's horrible. Much worse than any Holocaust Jews ever went through. And you see how adamant they are about never again. Here we've imported all these people to take their place, and they're totally malleable to the whims of the government, or not the government, but the shadow government, these commie psych jobs. Those who just can't wait to open up the nut houses after they had them closed in the 1960s and give us 50, 60 years of this stuff, and then they're going to open them up again and put conservative people in there who aren't in their right mind because they have garnered the power and they have an army of fresh blood who has absolutely no idea how America got here in the first place. If they go around thinking Cinco de Mayo is their Independence Day, and it was just their victory over the French with Maximilian or whatever his name was over there, and the Bonapartes trying to take Mexico. I mean, they have absolutely no idea what they came from, and they think. They think, please excuse me a second, Rod. They think that they could tell us that they own the land first. There are so many, and I mean, probably you and me, we all have Native American blood. Rod, that is what made us American, because the genes from Europe mixed with the genes of the Native Americans and gave us a culture and almost a race. And we were, I mean, how many times in the black community here say, hey, Red, well, they're not talking about him because he's red. They're talking about him because he has red blood. And we all have it, and we should glory in it. And these pinheads that thought this up, like Churchill over there in Colorado, and the Cherokee Queen that's in the Senate now. I mean, we got to listen to absolute boorish, moronic stuff, and it's passed to us as if it's on a plate of gold.
a lot of this stuff really isn't in the mainstream thought. When you start looking at the actual numbers, and I do look at a lot of numbers, and from a lot of different places and locations, and I got to excuse me, I got to tell you this ultra liberal mentality that is so pervasive in our culture today is really only espoused by a minority of people. This whole notion that the people should be able to come here unfettered is a minority of a minority type of thought. It is not anywhere near the majority of the American thought process to just let anybody come here any way that they want and just stay here and live off the land. And when I say live off the land, I mean government handout. They're obviously not living off the land like the Kilters up in Alaska. And for those of you in Rush Limbaugh's Rio Linda, that is the Alaska's Last Frontier is a reality series. But they're not doing that. They're living off the land. In other words, the people of this country, and they're being they're being invited in here to do that by a vast minority part of this country. And for the life of me, I cannot figure out how we're not able, as a majority, to stop them. If they get victory after victory on this type of stuff over and over again, and they take these kids and they push them through this indoctrination center that we call public school, and they spit them out in the other end, and all they do is spew this idiocy. And once you confront it, this is how you know that they've just been indoctrinated, just to be able to repeat all this, repeat the mantras that are just so idiotic. Because when you actually take them to task and you ask them a series of questions, they cannot give you a deep answer to what they're spewing. They get to the point where they're like, yeah, they get to big eyes and they're like, huh? What?
Yeah. You mean you don't believe what I just said? Yeah. And you're exactly right. They get a fresh crop. Every year, high schools across America graduate a new crop, and we hand them over to the worst of the worst. If Larry Flynt can say that Hustler magazine was his First Amendment right, then Mitchell Werble had every right to spill his lunch down his pants. Yep. That's just the way it is. I'm sitting here, oftentimes I'm flabbergasted by what I come across, and I'm thinking, really, this is just, it's absolutely insanity. It's just pure insanity what we're experiencing today. And when and I don't disparage. I know our country's history, and when you said that there's this this notion of a near new race, well, actually, when you go south of the border, there was a new race that was created. I mean, the conquistadors, the Spanish, were so pervasive in South and Central America. And they mix so well and so hard with the native population that you have a type of a new race basically down there. And again, this is not being racist in any manner, but in Florida, along the Apalachicola River, there was a Negro fort in Florida. It was called the Negro Fort. This is in the time of Jackson. And they stood their ground down there, and they stayed down there. In the 1860 census of Calhoun County, Florida, there were black men living with white women, free black men. Nobody said a word. Everybody got along until the Democrats come along and made it this way.
Yeah, and there were other all black communities that were free out west. There was one out west.
Thriving. I have Lenny Lenape blood. I've got Delaware Indian. Kit Carson took the Delaware, a few of them, all the way out to California because he couldn't have made it out there on his own. It was the Delaware Indians that got him out there. They called them, the Oglala Sioux called them destroyers because they hunted like the white man. But they became Christian. You have to realize that the best thing that we had was our faith. And the next best thing is the Constitution.
And people seem to forget that when you cut us all open, we're human anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
And bleed red, but that's the way.
But yeah, we all bleed the same color. We bleed the same way. We have the same internal organs. You know, the only thing that's different among the people, unless you want to get down and dirty into your DNA, is still just basically your the melatonin concentration on your skin. There really isn't any other difference.
Yeah, and we all have the same makeup of minerals. You can take a look at anything on this earth and tell it comes from this planet. We're all the same. God created everything out of the dust.
Well, if you're talking to George Neary, we're not all human. Some of us are alien, by the way. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
Well, that's
you know what? That may explain a lot.
Art Bell grew up in my neighborhood, and his parents believed in flying saucers. Everybody else was either a Christian or a Jew, you know.
Well, I'm just going to tell you, if there are really aliens on this planet, that might explain a heck of a lot.
Yeah, well, if they come down in a spaceship, you look for the horns underneath that hat, all right?
You know, this whole notion that we're supposed to, I guess it comes from the mantra that I find it interesting that only white Europeans stole America from the Indians, but there's no mention of the Southern Europeans. You know, the Spanish, the Portuguese, that infiltrated down there in South and Central America.
Yeah, and they're the ones that actually brought the slavery. It was the Portuguese that were on that West African coast first. They're the ones that went down there. They still own islands out that way. And, you know, how is it that John Kerry, who comes from an old money family in America, I mean, his family had riches. As a matter of fact, what they did to the Indians, there was a Cameron on his mother's side. What they did to the Indians over there by, say, about St. Joe, is they started trading them goods. They got them so far in debt that they wrangled all the land off them. So one of the Forbes, excuse me, it was a Forbes. I'm sorry, not Cameron. One of the Forbes owned a huge chunk of land over there before the United States even had their hands on Florida in the early 1800s. He traded the Indians into debt. He had them owing so bad they had to give up their land, and he had that. That's why that timber left out of there like it did. And see, you know, his family just went on down there into Central America with United Fruit and the rail barons, and they ruined those people's lives down there. Then John Kerry's the one standing up there saying the Monroe Doctrine don't apply, and they're bringing them in to bring us down from within. And nobody wants to look at the familial ties. Why is Kerry married to Teresa, whatever her name is? Because Senator John Hines probably met his end through a nefarious manner. It was probably one of the first drone things when they put that helicopter up there to look at the plane. John Hines had a staffer named George Tenet. Now, when John Hines died, George Tenet didn't have anybody to hang on to, so Dick Durbin took him. And, you know, Dick Durbin was on the Intelligence Committee, and then George Tenet is up there at Central Intelligence after that. Oh, and by the way, when 9/11 hit, his chief of staff was Dr. Drone, John Brennan. So, you know, don't think that they didn't have the ability to work the controls of that helicopter in the 1990s when Senator Hines bit the dust in the swamp.
Well, there's a lot of people that talk about the body count that under the Clintons, going all the way back to Bill's days as governor of Arkansas.
Yeah, but it's deeper than that. You know, it's really much deeper than that. And I see where you're coming from, because that's the one that so many people miss. But it's much deeper than that. It's a hoary story. There's no end to it unless everybody wakes up. You know, if they keep on going the way they're going, there's not going to be any freedom for anyone. We're all going to be whooped.
Well, that is, I can't argue with that. That is true. There is a problem with people. Well, I think Americans are waking up, but those who want us to stay asleep are fighting very hard to give us even more. Hey, for instance, now there's I think it's kind of interesting that now we have this new study that came out yesterday. I talked about it briefly. That if you binge watch, if you tend to binge watching is tied to certain kinds of depression. And if you get depressed, what do you need to do? You need to go to your psychiatric professional or medical professional and get a drug to reverse. There is nothing out there saying don't binge watch or else you'll get depressed. Go take a drug so you're not depressed. But keep watching, binge watching, whatever you're watching. I don't see how binge watching actually makes a person depressed, other than when they get done with the show in a week, there's nothing else to watch, so they think. That might make people depressed, but I guess, I don't know. Maybe that's the whole purpose.
I would say that it's not a depression, that most of these things are just an excuse that they can get some drugs they couldn't get at the store. The pharmacia down south, you just walk right in and get whatever you want. You want a box of diet pills? I mean, a case. Yeah, right over the counter. And you go to work, and you try to make a living. Of course, up in the Andes, they don't have to do that. They just put a little leaf in their chaw and a little bit of lime, and off they go. Everybody uses it. The United States of America is locked in. Like we said the other day, the Department of Transportation. I have some older neighbors, and years ago they used to truck, and pennies are not a bad thing. They like their energy bills, it's just the way things are. Americans are going to look for something, and if they got to jump through the hoops at the VA to get it, they're going to, and then the VA is going to come back and tie them up in a ball and stick them in a sling.
Well, that is so true. Look, dumb down a nation. If you can't dumb them down, drug them down, and then once you have control, you've got complete and total control. I'm up against a break here. I got to run. Thank you for the call once again, my friend. Good to hear from you. And folks, it is what he said is really true. You just can't. It's hard to argue with it, really. I mean, I suppose you could if you're going to be a liberal, but if you're out there for the truth and facts, can't argue. We'll be right back. You're listening to me, your lovable host, L. Rod, here on the Rod Eccles Show.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
When you're ready to take the edge off a hectic day, I suggest you start with a little music from Franz Black.
I guess there's lots of ways to look at things that don't seem right.
No Worries has just been released on iTunes and Amazon.
It's gonna be alright.
You can find Franz Black and his music on his website, friendsblack.com. Franz black.com.
It's gonna be alright.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Attention business owners. We know that owning a business means getting things done right now. So if your right now list includes a new building, call the Right Now Company, General Steel. We can design a building for your business quickly and save you thousands of dollars. That's right, thousands. You may think General Steel only builds large projects or that you can't afford General Steel quality. Well, check these prices. How about a 40 by 60 foot building for under $22,000 or even a 50 by 100 for under $35,000? That's right, a 5,000 square foot building for under $35,000. And these buildings all have General Steel quality. Best of all, you can still order a building and have it delivered in time to build this year. How's that for right now? So if your right now list includes a new building, call the Right Now Company, General Steel.
800-393-5756. 800-393-5756. 800-393-5756. That's 800-393-5756.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-616-8010. That's 1-800-616-8010. Again, 1-800-616-8010. Call now.
Welcome back. From thehill.com. This just in, by the way, reporting from thehill.com. Jon Voight, you know, the movie and TV actor and the father of one Angelina Jolie, has just endorsed Donald Trump for president, says that he's a patriot, by the way. So there you go. Donald Trump getting a Hollywood endorsement this morning from the noted actor, Jon Voight. Now, we must remember that Jon Voight was in the first Mission Impossible movie, as well as a bunch of other stuff, but yeah, he was in Mission Impossible. So he knows a thing or two about patriotism. Just saying. This from The Hill as well. More ex-Gitmo detainees suspected of returning to terrorism. The number of former Guantanamo Bay detainees suspected of re-engaging in terrorism or insurgency after being released by Presidente Obama has doubled from 6 to 12 in the 6 months through January, according to data released Tuesday by the administration themselves. And I know some of you out there listening under the sound of my voice are going to be saying, that's a Republican thing, man. You guys just hate Obama. Well, Obama's reporting this. Not the Republicans. You know, I love it when you give information to these libtards And they go off on you, and you say, hold on, wait a minute, calm down there. Hey, don't jump on a jet ski here on this one. This is information that the Obama administration released. So we're not making it up. And I love baiting people that way. I'll talk about a certain statistic, and I'll say something about the statistic, and they'll go off. And I'll let them go off. I'll let them pop off. I'll let them, call me names and accuse me of stuff. And then when they're done ranting, I'll say, hey, look it up. It's from the Obama administration. And because they'll accuse you of making up numbers. And see, this is why I say, be careful. When you decide to pop off on someone about potentially truthful information, you have to understand where it's coming from first. I mean, I know people try to trap me on that kind of thing. And they try to get me, and I'm like, hey, look. From what I understand, if I know something different, then I'll say something different about it. But if they say government stats this or government stat that, I'll say, well, that possibly might be true then. Because, the government will lie to us, to our face. But the interesting thing about our government is that they'll actually report truthful numbers. We just have to go and look for them. They'll tell us that unemployment, they'll give us a U3 unemployment number of 4.9% or some stupid low number like that. But at the same time, they're also publishing and dispersing the true unemployment number. And then when you tell people, well, the unemployment number really is, 10% or 15% or whatever it is, they'll look at you like, well, that's not possible. And like, hey, the Obama administration said that that's what the real unemployment number is. Look it up. Whether I like the truth or not is irrelevant. I just want the truth. But so many people they don't, you know what it is? They don't even know that they don't know the truth. Because they have been lied to so much that they believe, and misled so much that they believe what they've been told in a soundbite is the absolute, unadulterated truth. There's nothing more to that truth because that's the only truth on the planet. And then when you come back to them and you tell them, well, no, that's not the whole truth. Here's the whole picture and the whole truth as printed and reported by your favored person. In this particular case, it would be Obama and his administration. They still don't want to believe you. Now that I find troubling. It's been, politics has been reduced to celebrityism and humanism. And humanism is a religion, by the way. It is a religion. So politics has been reduced, not people seeking the truth, but it's been reduced to celebrityism. Our candidate is more likable and is better than your candidate. Our candidate's a rock star and your candidate's not. And then it's about it's just about humanism and believing in facts no matter what the truth is. I shouldn't say facts, but believing in what they're told instead of what the truth is. And a lot of people equate that, with Christians of being weak-minded and feeble-minded because we have faith that God exists, when science on a daily basis is proving that there is an intelligent being out there that's created all of this stuff. But yet and still, when you show them the proof that there is no man-made global warming, they will still believe it no matter what. Even when you show them proof from the government that they said tells you that there is global warming. And it proves that there isn't. They still believe that there is. But Christians are the feeble and weak-minded, right? Just as we were told that all of these wonderful people in Gitmo, if we let them go, they know better now. They're not going to go back to the battlefield. They're not going to go and try to undermine the U.S. resolve to end terrorism. And when you tell them that, yes, they have gone back, you say, they'll say, no, this is just CIA propaganda. Well, this is coming from the Obama administration. There are 12 people that were released that we know of so far, or at least that the administration is reporting, that has been released from Gitmo, Guantanamo Bay, that the president wants to close because, it's terrible to have those terrorists down there. So he's released them, and they've gone back basically to the battlefield. Killing Americans, killing Europeans, killing anybody who doesn't believe the way they do. But no, we should close Guantanamo because, the whole world is looking at us and saying, close that base down. I don't know anybody in the world who's saying, except for, Iran, telling us to close Gitmo down. Of the 144 detainees released under President Obama, the number now confirmed to be back in the fight is 7, according to the report from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. The number of Obama-era releases suspected of re-engaging is now 12. And I would say that just by the way they word that there's more than 12. But it doesn't matter. You released danger. That's like, look. What do we always say when we let a person out of jail who was in jail for committing a particularly heinous crime? Well, they may be a rapist or a child molester or a murderer, and they get out of jail. We let them out of jail because the liberals say, well, they've been rehabilitated, they learned their lesson, blah blah blah. So we let them out of jail, and sure enough, within a year or two, they commit the exact same crime or a similar crime that landed them in jail in the first place. And yet we want to throw these people under the jail when they do that. And we want to go after the people that released them, saying you should have known better that this was evil. You want to sue them. You want to bring them up on criminal charges. We do that. But when Obama releases known worldwide criminals that are dangerous, and they end up going back to the battlefield and committing the same, what we call crimes, over and over again, all people can talk about is closing that horrible prison camp called Gitmo or Guantanamo Bay. Amazing. All the while, by the way, Sweden. And these are the same people. Now, these are the same people that Obama wants to bring into the United States as refugees, poor innocent refugees. Sweden, a Nordic country, north, lots of snow, pretty cold. Stereotypical beautiful women up there, right? Sweden. Don't tell me you don't think that. I mean, we all have the Swedish model. Now, no, obviously not. There are two stereotypes for Swedish women. There's the Brunhilde type, the big, broad-shouldered, strong, large woman. And then, so either they're that. If they're not that, then if they're Swedish, they're this tall, thin, lanky, gorgeous, model-esque type of woman. Those are the two Swedish stereotypes. It is what it is. But in any case, obviously stereotypes are not true. When you get to an entire population, you get to a big enough population base. Obviously, the stereotype there may be some truth in the stereotype, but the stereotype isn't generally true when you spread it across the entire population. So not every Swedish woman is either a Brunhilde or name a Swedish model. I can't even name one right now. That's not the truth. There's a lot of regular, average, everyday, in-between women in Sweden, just like any other population. However, in this land of Brunhilde or model, women. Now I don't know how International Women's Day feels about this. Maybe somebody should ask them, or maybe if they were a Black Lives Matter woman, they should be asked how they feel about this particular story. Women are warned, and this is from express.co.uk, by the way. Women are warned, don't go out at night at all. Why? In a country that was once considered one of the safest nations on the planet. Remember when you used to hear about one of the countries that they always talked about showing how evil guns were in this country is that there's no crime in Sweden and nobody has a gun. Okay, well, nobody has a gun in Sweden, but now women are warned don't go out at night after all of these wonderful immigrants, some of them who've been released from Gitmo, probably, after they call them migrants. They're not migrants, they're invaders. After invader sex attackers target 10-year-old girls. Women have been warned not to go out at night unless they are in large groups as Swedish police struggle to cope with a wave of invader sex attacks in a once peaceful town. Officers in the picturesque town of Östersund issued an astonishing warning after gangs of foreign men went on a rampage, attempting to rape women in the street and even groping a group of 10-year-old girls at a bus stop. I don't know. I don't get it. The shocking announcement will heighten concerns around the effects of mass migration. Now, Sweden wants to get rid of a bunch of them now, by the way. I do believe, if I recall, Sweden is actually trying to pay some of them to leave. I think the equivalent of $50,000 or $60,000, $70,000. Hey, leave! We'll give you this if you leave. Bribery. Women in the tiny lakeside town of Östersund in central Sweden have been terrorized by sex attacks, with 6 such incidents being recorded in the last 2 weeks alone. I mean, I don't understand why this is such an issue. These people are, and it's not that I'm saying these people in a negative, well, it is kind of negative. These people are proving to be dangerous. They're proving not to want to assimilate and go and get into a Western mindset that is not, that type of behavior is not acceptable. To them, it is completely and fully acceptable. Who does that? So now we have people, we have these wonderful migrants who are being invited in. Well, not invited, but they're up there. They're being invited in. Yeah, we'll let you in. Come on up. We'll let you in. They're being let into these European countries, and this is how they repay their European saviors. And every single time a European nation opened their doors to these people, they opened their doors because they were told that all the negative stuff that was happening down in Southern Europe and in Eastern Europe wasn't going to happen there. France was told, these people are being vetted, and these are true refugees. They're not going to cause you any problems until they came in and killed over 100 people in Paris. By the way, I got a story here on, speaking of Paris, really quick if I can find it here in my paper pile. It is about Holland. French President Holland is he's got French people kind of baffled right now. And why does he have them baffled? Well, he's got them baffled, and this is from FT.com. He's got them baffled because he seems to be abandoning the left. You know, he's a socialist kind of guy. He's abandoning the left, and he's going all out towards the center. And that's it. Labor reform row raises concerns over socialist leaders' leadership now. And that. And by the way, that is from it's Financial Times, and I got a problem with the Financial Times. I really do. I understand it is their publication, it is their website, but you know what? And I'm going to remove them from my my news feed simply because you can't get any information out of them. Because they'll put out a story out there, and you'll go and read the story, and you'll try to save that story, and you can save it. You can read it, and you can save it. But then if you go back to that story, then they'll hijack their own site and tell you you've got to give them a ransom and buy a subscription in order to read the story. I'm like, wait a minute, I just read the story. I'm not reading a different story. I'm reading the same story. And again, they can do that. It's their site. But you know what? I don't have to be bothered with them anymore. And that's FT.com. I think it's FinancialTimes.com. Some of these places, they're just. It's their site, but you know what? You're the consumer. You don't gotta deal with their BS if you don't want. And I know a lot of people out there on the left would be like, "Well, no, they shouldn't be doing that. Somebody should make a law to keep them from." I'm not saying make a law against it. I'm just saying I'm just not going to use them anymore. I'm not going to reference them, and that's too bad because look, their story. They're not exclusive on these types of stories. By the way, that's the problem. It'd be one thing if you're talking about, a columnist or something that's exclusive to them. But when you're talking about worldwide news, they're not exclusive. It's wild how some of these idiot liberals think. And make no mistake about it, these are liberal publications. The New York Times is trying to do the same thing now. And a couple of other liberal publications. Isn't that funny how they want the internet to be free, but then they want you to pay for their website? Nothing wrong if they can get people to do it, if that's what they want. I think it's kind of, a little bit hypocritical when you do that, though, when you talk that way. So we have a bunch of detainees that have been released, and all the while we've got women and children, little girls, up in places like Sweden who are not safe from these people either. And you got liberals here who want to blame Donald Trump for being a racist pig for not wanting to let any more of these kinds of people into this country. Now, what do you think would happen if we let in a bunch of, a few thousand of these guys from Islamic Middle East into the United States? And they decided to start rampaging someplace and start going, groping and trying to rape people. Do you think the American male, not just the cops, but do you think the American male would stand for that? No, we've got guns. There would be a bloodbath. And the problem is that all of those people committing the crimes and committing the heinous crimes of rapes and attempted rapes and groping wouldn't be punished. And those at fault would be, in the government's eyes, would be the men standing to protect the women. That's how this country would work and operate on this kind of stuff. And that's sad. And if you think I'm wrong, Sean Hannity advertises this type of insurance all the time. If you own a gun, you should have this kind of, I don't know what it is, this kind of insurance because if you use your gun in self-defense, you're most likely going to be the one arrested and have to defend yourself. Defend yourself from the government for defending yourself from a criminal. That's how twisted we've gotten. How twisted our government has become. Those who are innocent and who are truly trying to live their own lives and live a law as much as they can, a law-abiding life, that are being attacked by criminals who give no care to the Constitution, the law, or your right to be unaccosted. They don't care. They're just going to attack you. And if you go and defend yourself against that type of a person, you are being told, well, you should have called the police instead of taking the law into your own hands. All of a sudden, it's the law into your own hands. Well, you know what? The law has always been in the hands of the citizen, has always been in the hands of the people. Government is trying to take the law out of your hands, by the way. Just saying. So if they came here with that nonsense and tried to do that, there would be a bloodbath. But unfortunately, those wonderful, brave people who are defending themselves would be the ones who will find themselves on the outs and defending themselves from such. Thus is the liberal mindset. By the way, the socialist dream is under threat in Chavez's Venezuelan city. Yeah, wonderful southern South American version of socialism. I mean, do you know that they have riots down there in Venezuela over toilet paper? Really? They have a toilet paper shortage. I don't. But this is what Bernie Sanders, I guess, wants here. He wants to be able to have toilet paper shortages just to, bring us down a notch, I guess. I don't know. Strikingly enough, and by the way, to go on the back of Caitlyn Jenner basically endorsing Ted Cruz, I'm not sure Ted Cruz really appreciates that too much. But nonetheless, Caitlyn Jenner is backing Ted Cruz. But Caitlyn Jenner is a what? Is a transgender. And it has been reported today in my news feed that the second Wachowski brother, of the Matrix brother duo, director, producers, writers fame. Well, the first brother a while ago went tranny. Well, it reported today that the second Wachowski brother comes out as a transgender, male, female, whatever, too. Just thought you'd like to know. Well, we've come to the end of our time here today. We'll be back here for tomorrow's edition. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, have a wonderful Wednesday hump day afternoon. I will be back here tomorrow. I'm Rod Eccles. This has been The Rod Eccles Show. I'm out.